Good day, this is Wade Norris here with UltimatePolitics.net, UP News. And we're here today with the group that's working on landlord-tenant relations. My guests are Randall Loeb, Lori Jekyll, and Paul Teagan. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, Wade.
All right. So House Bill 1356, which you guys were working on, is a basic guarantee of housing. It's passed. Now it's going before the state Senate of Colorado. Why should people care about this issue? What is the legalese behind this bill?
Well, Wade, I think it's time for the citizens of Colorado to join the other 48 states and millions of Americans who have a very basic protection for their housing. It's called a warranty of habitability, and it pretty much guarantees that if a tenant rents a place, that they're going to be able to live in it. It's going to have four walls, a solid roof, heat, plumbing, and water. And essentially, the bill.
So we don't have that right now?
I'm sorry, we don't have that. I know it's sort of surprising, and I hate to burst people's bubbles about the law in Colorado right now. But that warranty, that guarantee doesn't exist.
Wow.
And most tenants don't know it until it's too late. And this bill would establish a warranty of habitability in Colorado, and it would set the minimum standards for every rental agreement for residential property. And I'm just going to read this because I think it's important people know exactly what this establishes. And it establishes that the warranty of habitability would be breached only if a property is unfit for human habitation, and the property is in a condition that is materially dangerous or hazardous to the tenant's life, health, or safety, and the landlord received written notice of such a condition and failed to cure the condition within a reasonable time. So essentially, the property has to be dangerous in a way that is materially dangerous to the health or the safety of the person, and they have to give their landlord notice.
Okay, well, that sounds reasonable. Why would businesses or the apartment association be against this? I mean, it seems like the argument would be pretty hard to make that providing safe housing for renters is a bad idea. What are some of the things you guys are hearing out there?
First of all, what the tenants are faced with is that they have no recourse to fix something that is broken. The landlords made it clear that they would like to make sure that there's no self-repairs and then deducting the amount of rent, and that will not happen. They must give a written notice, and they must say that they need to have this fixed within a reasonable time. The landlord must take action to fix it, or the tenant has a right to leave the lease. But otherwise, they also were concerned that there would be people who would be climbing up on the roof or doing things like that. They were also interested in protecting their redress for a person to go to court and unfairly take them to court trying to break the lease for whatever purpose. And this would not be the case either. In cases where this litigation has been on the books, there's not been people taking advantage of it in other states. And finally, the other thing which was a concern was that this would cause the costs to go up. There is no fiscal note attached to this. There would be no increase in cost per se. If there were interest in maintaining better properties with better relationships, people would be happier in their homes. Landlords and businesses would be happier to have tenants who would be more stable, and their properties would be then more valuable, and they would then be in a better position to rent them if a person left.
I think I'm going to go back to Paul real quick. So it's not just for a person, for people listening out there. This means that you move into your apartment, you find out that the landlord is going to not fix a basic thing like your oven, or the wall is falling in, or the roof is caving in, and if you break your lease and leave, you just lose your money. You don't have the right to break your lease legally in this state. But also, let's say, in my building where I live, there's a guy that's been there for a long time. He's a paraplegic. Moving for him would be pretty much a hassle. So this law would make it, you wouldn't have to just break your lease. You could actually request fair
Right.
repairs.
And actually, we had a tenant testify at the House committee who made a similar point. I mean, I think that's the number one argument we hear against this, is that that the notion of the freedom to contract between a landlord and a tenant shouldn't be interfered with a piece of legislation like this. That they think that anyone who will sign a lease should just, have to abide by the lease. But, this creates a presumption that a person who rents a place can live in the place. It's that simple.
It seems like common sense. Lori, thanks for coming on the show, and you're the one that reached out and accepted the chance to come on and talk about this and make the citizens aware of this issue. How did you get involved? Why do you care about this? And how can others get involved?
Well, way before going on to law school, I'm a law student now, and one of the reasons why I went to law school is I had worked for 2.5 years at the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless, and I worked in the rental assistance department, and so I came across these issues on a daily or weekly basis. I had folks who were in apartments with cockroaches, with mildew, with sewage coming up through their toilets or through their bathrooms. I had a group of tenants in a complex that there was a particularly harsh winter storm that came through in March, and the landlord would not turn on the heat, and so they were told to heat their apartments with their ovens, which is not only an ineffective way of heating an apartment, but also extremely expensive for low-income folks.
And a fire hazard.
Exactly. So that was one of the reasons I got involved, and was one of the founding members, along with Randall, of the Tenant Rights in Action Coalition, which is a group of nonprofits, lawyers, activists who came together to address this issue. We've run legislation in the past. Unfortunately, it was very weak, and got it through the House and the Senate, and then Governor Owens vetoed it. So this year is really the year we went for the most effective legislation that we could find to protect tenants.
And for the listeners and the readers out in the blogosphere, it's going before the Senate. Who are the people on there, and how can you get involved, calling them, to support this bill?
Sure. Well, the most pressing issue at this moment is it's going to go before the Senate State Affairs Committee, and so the members of that committee are Senators Tapia, Romer, Cadman, Schulteis, and Wendells, and we would especially appreciate folks calling to ask them to support House Bill 1356. The number that folks can call for the Senate offices, and you can be immediately connected to senators, is 303-866-2316.
What was that number again?
It is 303-866-2316. And for folks who are outside of the Denver area, you can call 1-888-473-8136. And in addition, we'd really appreciate if folks could both call and email their own senators, because this will be hitting the House or the Senate floor very quickly. To find out your senator, you can go to votesmart.org, and that'll tell you exactly who your senator is. And if anyone is affected by this, both as a landlord or as a tenant, we'd really like for you to get a contact for us, because we need you to come speak out in support of this issue and tell your story to senators and folks at the Capitol, because they really need to hear from you. And if anyone would like to contact me, you can reach me at ljekyll, Jaeckel, at fulbrightweb.org.
All right. Well, Randall, Lori, and Paul, thank you again for being on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Wade.
And I'll be showing up down there. So, guys, I'm really putting out the word here. Call State Senators Romer, Wendells, and Tapia, and also Cadman and Schulteis, and urge them to support the Senate bill. And what is it called again?
The warranty of habitability. It's House Bill number 1356.
All right. This is Wade Norris, and this has been UP News and Ultimate Politics. You can check this out at ultimatepolitics.net and email me, wade@ultimatepolitics.net. And we're here on My House Sports Radio, 1510, 1570 a.m., and we'll see you next time. Thanks.